I have a son who's 18 years old. He is a classical musician. He plays symphonic tuba. He has a gift. He has a passion, and he puts forth extraordinary effort. He is at a private music school. He's a freshman. All the private music schools are about $70,000. He received $25,000 in scholarships for each of the 4 years he'll be going to this school. Unfortunately, that doesn't cover it. He took out a $38,000 loan, which is scary, but I don't know how to encourage him going forward. I don't see how he can do that for 4 years. Then the kicker is my parents are everyday millionaires, and they keep telling me to let him take out the loans because eventually I will inherit money and be able to help him pay them off. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. It doesn't sound like a good idea, but I don't see how he's going to be able to fulfill.
Let me slow down just a second.
Okay.
You said $70,000 a year.
That's with room and board, yes.
Okay. And so for 4 years, we're going to have $280,000 invested to be a gifted tuba player.
I know. I don't see,
Where do you make, I don't know enough about the music world. The only thing I can think of is an orchestra position. I don't know any soloist tubas that have ever sold millions of records off the top of my head. As a consumer, I don't know that.
Right.
And
so he would like to play in a symphony orchestra. He will not make that money.
Like he'll make like $40,000 a year, unless he's in the Boston Philharmonic or something.
Even then. But I don't understand. He can't get the training he needs at a private school, at a public school.
My point is, though, that the training's not worth it.
So what do I tell him, to change dreams?
I would live my dream a different way, because this dream is quickly becoming what's known as a nightmare.
Yeah.
You're going to have a guy making $35,000 a year that has spent $280,000 and $200,000 in debt, waiting on his grandparents to die to get him out of this.
Which sounds terrible.
It is awful. It's a horrible use of your family's legacy and your family's money. And it's not to say that the young man isn't gifted. I'm not putting down tuba players, and I'm not putting down his gift. I'm just trying to be wise in loving my son well and not usher him into a bear trap that tears his leg off.
Okay, so my wife just came in my room and told me this story, and I just got so fired up hearing this story. Apparently, a caller had called into the Dave Ramsey show to inquire about their son and his education. Now, Dave Ramsey, if you haven't watched him, he's a guy who promotes, financial stability and making wise decision with finances. And so my wife tells me, this family called in to ask about their kid and their music education. And she said, the school is going to cost, when he's done, it'll have cost $280,000. And she says, and guess what instrument this person is going to play? And I said, guitar? And she said, no, think of something else, something less popular. And I just said, tuba? And she said, yes. And I just said, oh my God. Okay, so this kid wants to go to this special college to get a degree in music with a specialty in tuba. And I just said, is he gonna take up playing bass? And she says, no, he just wants to play tuba. And somebody had noted, or Dave Ramsey had noted that somebody in the comments basically said that there was a local symphony and their tuba player had been in that slot for 30 years. So this is not something where there's like a revolving door and, we need more tuba players. And I'm just thinking, is this kid an idiot? So the family's here. You're going to hear some background noise and all this, but I just had to do this video. And I said, you couldn't pick an instrument with less versatility. And somebody had said in the comments, oh, well, he should just start a YouTube channel and playing covers on his tuba. And I'm thinking, it might be crazy enough to actually work. But you know what? I'm like, no, nobody wants to hear, cover songs on a tuba. They probably don't even know what a tuba sounds like, the people that are making these comments. Or you hear, I mean, like, dude. And then someone said, oh, well, he could just, play in the military and play in the marching band. I'm like thinking, is he going to march for 30 years? This is not a career choice that works. And this is, you have to be smart. If you're going to seek a career in music, for the love of God, you've got to, you could study tuba and you could hope to get a career as a symphony player. But I've got a friend that plays in the symphony down here in Florida, and he plays double bass. And he's been in that slot for a long time. But the reality is he also studied electric bass. So he is able to do both. And now we've got the lawnmower going. But this is not going to stop this message right now, because I just was literally fired up hearing about this from my wife, and these parents even bothering to call up and ask if spending $280,000 to have this kid become, the world's greatest tuba player, it's insanity. And I would not recommend anybody do that. I'm not a killjoy, and I'm not trying to stomp on people's dreams, but man, you have got to be realistic if you want to survive in this music business. You've got to be realistic if you want to survive. And the reality is, there's very few positions for a tuba. Now, tuba adjacent, you could say, would be trombone. Now, I know there are different instruments with different, sound and all that, but and I know a few great trombone players, in Nashville: Scott Kinney, Varney Green, and the name escapes me, but he's the big guy that played with Prince for a while, and he is an incredible trombone player. But even trombone, which is, it's a horn instrument, and it's usually in a horn section, there are not many times where there will be a trombone player on, say, a wedding gig or a corporate gig. Those have to be the top tier and the highest paid gigs. You're far more likely to get the call if you play bass, or if you play drums, or if you play keyboards, or if you play guitar, or if you can sing. If you're a tuba player, you're not getting that call ever, unless it was a New Orleans style marching band type thing that they sometimes have on these wedding gigs, but that's even rare. A lot of times you'll have, we want a horn, walkout where they have the horns and they play When the Saints Go Marching In, and the horns kind of lead everybody. And then they don't even have a tuba player for that. It's usually, hey, we've got a sax player and a trumpet. Will you guys lead the wedding party out to the parking lot? Kind of a Pied Piper moment. But there's no tuba. There's no calls for tuba players. I have never played one gig where there was a tuba player on the gig. It just doesn't happen. And that would be they would be robbing this family blind if they took their $280,000 for this guy to, learn how to play tuba. And it doesn't matter if you're the greatest tuba player on earth. There's only so many slots where you can work. So it would not be something I recommend at all. And it just amazes me. These schools will take your money. It's like when I was going to school, and I went to Shenandoah Conservatory of Music. But my degree, I was studying like business. And I took, jazz guitar and stuff on the side because I knew man, this is going to be tough, and I don't want to just be hanging around musicians all the time. And you need to have a kind of a dose of reality and go to school with regular people as well, because the majority of life, you're not going to be just dealing with musicians. You're going to be dealing with people from all walks of life, and you need to get used to that. But the instructor in my improv class, I think he was kind of like my counselor, or talked to my mom one time. My mom came up and talked to him and said, is my son doing the right thing here? He's studying business, and I know, you've worked with him on guitar and you've heard him play, and he told her flat out, he says, getting a degree in jazz is kind of akin to getting a diploma so that you could go sweep the floor somewhere. It doesn't guarantee you any kind of job. It doesn't guarantee you any kind of work. And he was flat out honest with my mom when he told her that. But these schools will take your money, and the funding, the banks will fund this education, and he'll be paying student loans for the rest of his life. $280,000, will just snowball into debt, and all of this for what? To play tuba? Bro, get real. Get real. I got so fired up hearing my wife, and I don't normally shoot videos at this time of day. Normally I'm just family guy and doing my editing and doing all that stuff. But man, I got so fired up hearing about this, because like I said, these schools don't care about you. They're just going to take your money, and there's all kinds of degrees you can get that just don't guarantee you any kind of job or any type of work. And even if you were, a great tuba player, that's no guarantee that you're going to fit in anywhere, or that someone's going to vacate their slot so that you can get a job. There's probably 3 or 4 positions, or 5, or maybe 10 symphonies in the country where they have a tuba player, and then you got to wait for a guy to retire. I mean, bro, you're getting a degree to go flip burgers. You're getting a degree you're going to be, making fries, and maybe, just maybe you could go teach music somewhere in a high school, but you signed up to play tuba. So, I mean, you're just limiting yourself so much. And I know a lot of guys, that played, a horn instrument or something in college, and that was their major, but they ended up being bass players, or they ended up being somebody that could play in a rhythm section so that they could actually work more often. So I just got so fired up hearing this story and having these parents, and I'm sure Dave Ramsey gave them a dose of reality, because that is what he does, but man, I just can't believe that somebody would think that spending $280,000 on an education so that they could become this master tuba player. I can't imagine why anybody would think that that was a good idea. OMG.